What is up, everybody? It is not Thursday night, it's Wednesday night. Welcome to Doc Talk on its new Wednesday night, just for the summer. Just for the summer. Bear with us. New week, new episode of the Doc Talk Jackson Kayak Doc Talk, proudly presented by the Orion Podcast. Tonight we've got a new panel of individuals. He's got his shirt on.
Hey, am I cup? I'm a player.
My canoe Kentucky cut tonight. So yeah,
Chad was supposed to send me a box of Orion stuff. It hasn't gotten here yet.
Chad ain't been home. Chad's home now, though. Yeah, so new panel, not new to you, but a new panel, new assembly. So let's go around the room, and each one of you just tell us where you're from and what kind of boat you be paddling this year. And go.
Why don't you one of you fellas? Everybody hears me all the time.
Well, I'm from Quebec, Canada, and I'll be paddling a NAR or a Cruiser, and a Cruiser SD, the Cruiser X, depending on how I feel that day, I guess, or what type of water I'm going.
Very nice, very nice. Michael Blatt.
Let's see. I still haven't paddled my Coosa X. I've only put my guests in it. They seem to love it. It's very easy to teach out of. I'm in my NAR, my 23 NAR. And then I also have a 22 NAR that I put my guests in, and I have a Take Two that is sitting at the warehouse in Franklin, New Hampshire, an hour from here at Outdoor New England, that I bought just for a few trips, but I haven't paddled it yet. So I'm actually very excited to get in the Take Two as well.
Nice.
You're gonna love it, brother. I'm telling you. I'm from Smiths, Alabama. We call it UCLA, the upper corner of Lower Alabama. But today I was in the X. I jumping back and forth. Usually I'm in the X, or I've got a bite angler that I love, and it's outfitted with an anchor trolley. And I've got all my mounts for my camera stuff. So if I'm running a gun, and I'll take that bite angler. I still love that boat. And then if I'm not in those two, I'm in a Take Two, and it's usually my bride Angie. We love paddle that thing tandem. But also, man, as far as a solo boat, if a person's a bigger dude, man, it is hard to beat that Take Two. It is just a incredibly stable, wonderful paddling boat for a monster vessel that can haul, a aircraft carrier worth of gear. But so one of them three is what I'm hauling.
Well, and the Take Two is, while we're on the subject, there's a lot of new rigging videos and rigging tips and tricks coming around with this Take Two. Let's kind of get into that a little bit. This thing has become a machine. Like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we go to Redcrest. Jameson and I post his new Take Two, decked out to the 9, and now all of a sudden it's like, ooh, what do we have here? This thing's a fishing machine. So, as a guy that's got to Take Two, Chris, I'm going to let you just kind of elaborate maybe a little bit on the riggability of this boat and some of the things that you see, because you run it tandem, you run it single, you run it with a motor, you run it without a motor. You kind of mix and match. So I'll let you kind of elaborate on the Take Two and just talk about its riggability and how its function.
Yeah, we're blessed with two of them, and y'all know that. But the reason we first got one is Angie and I we paddle with a lot of people, and on all my videos when I put them out there, man, if y'all want to try it out, come see me. And it's the honest truth. To us, it's a ministry. And we just like being that kind of person that'll put somebody on the water no matter what. I don't care what your experience is. I want you to have a good time. And a lot of times that ends up with either being with kids or somebody that's just totally not comfortable with the water, or special needs individuals. We've had folks with, limited mental capacity, limited physical capacity. And that Take Two is a wonderful vessel for that kind of stuff. And I've begged people, please don't call them divorce boats, because I know people call a tandem boat a divorce boat, but I'm telling you, maybe it should be a marriage counseling boat, because if you can't paddle a tandem boat together, you probably don't need to be tied together. We're fixing to have 30 years June 12th, so I could say that. But we spent, many years as canoeists, and then jumped over into the kayaks, and we loved the big tuna, really did. And then the DT came out, man, I thought that was the end all be all. And when the Take Two came out, I never thought anything would take the place of my DT. But the Take Two, honestly, it is such a good paddling boat. And then for the stability of it, and then, like you said, the riggability, good gracious, at the amount of track. So we had never fooled around with any type of a motor. And I fished with Jeff Little and Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
We ran it down a 3-day trip where we got flooded out and almost drowned. That was always anytime you have something as a life-threatening situation, always leads for good memories.
Oh, yeah.
But watching them use that Torpedo kind of, that may be our next purchase. So we outfitted one with the Torpedo, and it is unbelievable. I mean, to put that big old boat at 6.7 mile an hour, I think 6.4 with the two of us, running. And actually last year I was able to catch a tarpon, and using the Torpedo, I was running through $1 million boats, backing up, throttling in, trying to get running around all these high dollar boats to catch that tarpon. And that was kind of awesome on my 50th birthday last year. But
that's cool.
We have, I've done that. And then I've 2 trips with well over 200 pounds of camping and, photography gear. I did 79 miles in 2 trips paddling it. So without the motor, I mean, that's just with nothing but the old 2-stroke, and, but it is definitely, it's an eye-opening boat to be able to do that kind of work and not end up dead, after a trip. I mean, I'm telling you, it's pretty daggum neat boat. I'd put anybody in it. I'd recommend it for any skill level of person. And I don't care if you're the biggest pro that wants to wrap that sucker to the rashest beginner that just wants to get out there and paddle. That boat will do it for you.
Yeah. And Michael, so what are you thinking as a fishing guide? I mean, a boat like the Take Two gives you a lot of possibilities. Where are you planning on taking out 2 at a time in the boat, or are you just planning on running it as a single? I mean, you've got obviously.
When I first started my guide business, I had 2 big tunas.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 2011, I had a 2021. And I would usually just cap it at 2 people, and I would put one person with me, and then I have one person set up solo. And it was always, the significant other riding with me who was there for the bird watching. Mm-hmm. And he or she would always end up catching the bigger fish, because I would just point that boat right where they needed. And I was like, all right, just cast right at our 12 o'clock and just wait a minute. And, the other person would be solo, just going around, catching their little 2-pound bass. And this person is in front of me catching 4 and 5 pounders. But I use it for the smaller kids. And, if there are siblings that get along or siblings that don't get along, I'll put the younger one up front, put the older one in the back. And it's like Chris Funk said, it's if you belong together, you should be able to paddle together. And last year I was just about to upgrade my boats, and I had a family with 2 daughters, both like late 20 or early 20s. And they said, we want 2 tandems. I said, okay, so I'm going to go solo and you're going to be in the 2 tandems. And that was, and it all worked out. Everybody got along. The family was great. I do like the versatility, the wide deck space. Honestly, I didn't know it till I looked at the bottom of the boat that it's basically a NAR set up with a more open deck and for 2 people. The hull is virtually identical. to the NAR. And again, my dream for Jackson one day is to add 3 feet to the Take 2, put 2 pedal drives in it, widen it by about 5 to 6 inches, and let's
Will you help me carry it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
my back.
Oh man.
So the first time I ever met Chris Gervais was this is before he was on the team, and he put a question out into the Jackson Kayak Owners Facebook group. I'm looking for a trailer. And I messaged him and I'm like, listen, I'm thinking about upgrading my trailer. How far is it to Ottawa from New Hampshire? Like where could we meet? And I'm trying to talk him into buying my trailer at this point so I can upgrade. And he ended up just building out I think was it a Malone that you ended up with, Chris, that he ended up building it out. But then when I found out later that he's joined Jackson team, I was like, okay, this guy, he loves his NAR. He got his NAR. He already knew right away he was getting a trailer for this thing. Once you open your mind just to get a small trailer, it opens the world to expanding your garage for how many more boats you're going to get. The waters that, the carting your kayak around through the sand, to the water's edge. It's fun, oh yeah, I know, Chris. I've seen yours. I know. My favorite day last year was going down to Ashboro, meeting Denny, and meeting those guys at On the Water Innovations. I love my trailer. When I saw that you got one, it adds another trip to your repertoire. It's like, all right, how can I get down to Ashboro, North Carolina? Where can I fish on my way to go pick up my trailer? And it just, I don't know, it opened my world, and now I'm able to get 4 boats around. I'm going to have 6 by the end of the summer.
Awesome.
The only problem with that is you have to take 5 people kayak fishing when you have 6 boats. It's
well, and then you get the 4-door. It starts with the 4-door truck, and then you're like, well, I need a trailer where I can haul 4 boats, and then you haul 4 boats, and then you haul 4 people, and then you end up doing a lot of the work by yourself while everybody else is standing over there talking.
That was the number one rule of having a trailer. Every time that we learned that at Summits and we learned that at Boondoggles is if you have the trailer, you were going to be responsible for hauling everybody else's stuff while they were over at a campfire doing whatever they wanted to do. You were stuck doing all the work. So it's like you either leave earlier than everybody gets up and you stay later than everybody wants to. That's the only way I stop that from happening, because I'm going to fish from dark to dark.
Yep.
I will say this. So my wife is sitting across the table from me right here. She's on her third week off from work for the first time since June of 2021. So she's enjoying herself. She's coloring, having a glass of wine. She actually went out on the lake with me, and she got to pedal a NAR for the first time last week. Now she thinks it takes me an hour to get off the water. And sometimes it does, because I do, I'll have, a small beer that I'll have to unwind, while I'm gearing up. And so our daughter's getting off the bus in like 37 minutes, right? I've timed it. It's 22 minutes to get home from this lake. And she says, what do I need to do? And I swear to God, the fastest I've ever packed up getting off that lake with 2 kayaks was when she was sleeving the rods and knowing where I put things. It was amazing. And she's a former Army officer. The girl knows how to pack. She's always waiting on me. But I mean, I always want to take her fishing with me now, because getting on and off that water is so fast.
Awesome.
Now, up there in Canada, it looks like we've got quite the tackle selection in the background. I'm kind of window shopping.
Yes.
I'm thinking about putting you on the bigger screen.
Chris has got the hookup. You can see it right there.
I want to know the reels that he's using.
Yeah, we're going to have to put him on the bigger screen here so we can tackle shop. Let's see. What all we got? Look at him.
A bit of stuff here and there. Everything is still, I'm trying to get organized and got some stuff on this corner also. But
wow.
Fished a lot of loose in the past, but I've been converting my spinning reels to, I bought a few spinning reels this winter, Stratix and Maribel and whatever. Yeah, you just want to make sure you have good reels, especially spinning. I was able to like bust the frame in one of another brand, and I'm like, oh, okay, I want to make sure I have a tank. So
now, Christian, I think it was you last night during the Doc Talk episode. You said something that caught me. You didn't start fishing till you're in your 30s.
Okay, so you want to hear the story? So
let's hear the story. How did it come about?
Well, the first thing to know is I'm actually allergic to fish, so I can't eat fish. Tuna, I die from it. So anyway, so my son at 38, right now I'm 50. I was 38 at that time, and my son was asking me always to go fishing and on the bank and everything. And I only have 2 gears: stop and light speed. And that's why you see that in the back. I don't have like the middle ground. Must be a disease or something. I don't know. So anyways, I go in I go in my buddy's garage, and he's got that huge rocket. I'm like, what the hell is that boat? So he had a 21-foot Triton with a 300 horsepower Merc in the back, and I'm like, okay, what do you do with that, man? Because I'm allergic to fish, so I have no clue of what fishing is. He says, well, I do tournaments and I hook fish and put them back in the water. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me I don't need to eat the darn thing? I'm like, okay, well, that's done then. So same winter, went to a fishing boat show. I said to my son, you want to fish? We're buying a boat. And so we bought a 16-foot with 40 HP aluminum boat. I'll go fast. Few years later, buy my first bass boat. Few years later, I buy a 2018 Ranger Z519 with a 225 HP in the back. And anyways, I got some sponsorship and whatnot through the years. I was lucky enough to learn from the best anglers, and I'm the type of open book type of thing. I like to give back. It doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter if you have a $10,000 or a $1,000 bass boat and a $150,000 bass boat. Whatever makes you happy and you can go on the water and just enjoy it. So I tend to share what I learn. I'm far from being a pro. I just like to, I've learned some good things. I like to share, keep what you want and whatnot. COVID hits, not the best thing for some people. I'm an extrovert, so that was tough for me. I literally stopped fishing for 3 years. People were like, "Oh, the hell did you do that, man? Not even a rod, nothing." I kept my rod, kept my stuff, and then I'm like, you know what? Price of gas, everything. I'm starting kayak fishing. So I actually started last year kayak fishing. So I said, okay, I'll give myself. I had a small Pelican. I had started that. So fell in the water, almost lost some stuff, and I'm like, okay, no, you're not catching me in that thing ever again. It's not for tournaments or whatnot. So last year I'm like, okay, I'm giving myself, I don't know, $2,000. That should be good to like buy a kayak and whatnot. So about $20,000 later, I ended up buying a kayak, another brand. And the way it started, me and the Jackson family, is I'm fishing with Aaron Dodds.
Yep.
And I'm pedaling. I'm having a hard time pedaling, and he just cruises by me with his gnar. And although I like to share what I learn, I like to have fun on the water, but I'm also very competitive. So I'm like, dude, that's not happening again. Go ahead and call the store, find an R, buy an R. Ended up going on the Jackson kayak family, and then I sold my other kayak, and I need 2 kayaks. I need to make sure that I can bring people with me, try out the kayaks and whatnot. And I mean, that tri-track it's very cool. That is like I'm like, I need the Cruise AX now. I'm not just gonna get the NAR. I need the Cruise AX. I just need both of them and 2 big.
That'll cover everything you could ever want to do right there. Those really 2, yes, sir.
And in less than 6 months, having Chris Gervais on the Jackson Kayak team, there was a new account and a new retailer that joined Jackson family because of you, right?
Yeah. So I got Monzo Azair, who got in this spring. So They were interesting. They sell actually 4-wheelers and lots of boats and everything. And they had another brand of kayaks. And I said, well, I know they're very serious in what they're doing. They have their bass tournament fishing league and whatnot. And I said, well, if you guys want to get into like serious kayak fishing, why don't you get Jackson Kayak? So a guy works there. He already owns 5. So he's more into whitewater fishing. So one day he says, Chris, we have an electric car and electric car show and whatnot. And you have an electric motor on your kayak, right? Because it was like electric bicycle, electric this and that. I said, yeah, I do. Can you bring it to the show? And my trailer is in 2 foot of snow in the back. Nothing's ready. And I said, dude, you want my kayak at the show? Done deal. I'll get it done same day. So start digging the trailer out, rig my motor back on, rig some stuff, bring it to the show. And they ended up ordering quite a few Jackson kayaks. So yeah, that's my story. So
and you don't have to dig them things out in Alabama.
Oh,
well, sometimes.
In a few years, I just want to move down south. I mean, I'm done with this winter stuff.
Now, I think that kind of leads into a perfect thing with the 3 of you guys. You guys all in very different ways give back through kayaking. And I think that is a monumental story. I mean, Michael's guiding, Chris, you're taking people out and spreading the word. And Chris, you're introducing new people and communicating and doing it as a teacher. And gosh, man, how is that? Give us some of the stories that have kind of touched you guys in the process of kayak fishing and the giving back. Elaborate on that a little bit, if that was even a question.
Well,
I mean,
I think it's a passion.
It is
passion. Me, like being a newbie, I call myself Chris the fisherman apprentice, but after a few years, guys were like, okay, dude, you're not the apprentice anymore. Yeah, but I don't know. We're still learning all the time.
Practicing like lawyers.
It's all about passion and about, like for me, representing Jackson Kayak. It's the group of people. I mean, I representing brands is one thing, but if it needs to reflect your own self, and I feel that pretty much everyone in Jackson Kayak I talk to is fun, is I don't know, it's lively. It's not about selling a product or whatnot. Like I don't know. It for me, it's not about even product. We just love the quality of it and love the group. And when I got that call from Dustin, I did that fishing application, and I mean, I never do that really. And I'm like, oh my God, that took like 3 hours to fill in. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of work. But anyway, calls me and I'm like, yeah, great vibe. And I already had lots of good vibes and great vibe from other people. And I'm like, yeah, I think I want to fish with Jackson for many years. I really like it. So it's all about passion at the end of the day.
Chad, I may have said it on the other podcast, but probably my absolute favorite story. Angie and I went over to Fort Benning to paddle with some soldiers one time, and they had family members there, and there was a little girl, and I had to take the tuna there, and this little girl, she was terrified of the water, and I said, look, if you would like to get in this boat, I said, I'll be right there with you. And she said, well, what if I fall in? And I said, well, you got a life jacket. I got a life jacket. I said, I will not let anything happen to you. And I said, and I will stay right by the bank if that makes you happy. So we got her in the boat. We kept her right by the bank. And while we were paddling, she said her and her daddy used to go out in the canoe all the time before he got injured. Mm-hmm. And she said, and she kind of missed it. And I said, well, I said, I can understand that. I said, we'll just paddle around here, kind of close by. And she said, well, maybe let's go a little further away from the bank. So we went a little further away from the bank. By the time that day ended, I actually asked her, I said, what would you think about paddling solo? And they had some little tarpon 120s around there. Mm-hmm. And she said, would you be right there with me? I said, yes, ma'am, I sure would. I said, I promise I will not let anything happen to you. I said, I will be right beside you. So we went over to try to get her that tarpon 120, and they wouldn't let her use it because she wasn't 16. Oh. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm 16 and this is my boat. And I said, how about I use your tarpon as she paddles my tuna? She looked at me. I said, you can handle this boat. That little bitty girl got in that tuna. And at that time, I was 280 pounds and I was in a tarpon 120. So I was pushing every limit of that boat, I'll tell you. But I got in that boat and paddled around with her and right beside her, and she lit up. Well, that afternoon when we were loading up to go, I looked back over my shoulder and that little girl was paddling and her daddy was paddling with her next to her. And y'all can see it kind of choked me up a little bit. But to me, that right there is why we do this. We give and in each way, because every one of us has been given. I mean, Lord knows I'm still learning. I learn from every time you guys post, the fishing stuff. I pick up new methods or sometimes it's just times that I know what to do. I'm just doing it too fast. I need to slow down. Somebody says, hey man, just breathe, slow down, take it easy. And each one of us that gives and tries to answer questions on Facebook or answers questions on our Ask a Pros or whatever we're doing, it's just a way that we can give back a little bit, and it's just returning a blessing that we've already been blessed with, either with a patient answer or the opposite side. We've seen people that have been ugly, and man, I don't want to be that, and I don't want to experience that, and I don't want anybody else to have to either. So I'm hoping when I, do a video on how to get back into a boat or this type of bait that we use, or this boat, and this is how we use it, I'm hoping that it's saving somebody from either going through the school of hard knocks like we all had to, or, or just being that little bit of information that'll help push them into that next level so that they can in turn turn around and give back to the people around them. We're just plowing a field, planting a seed, and hoping that message grows. And it is so cool. The neat thing about these is you don't have to be a fisherman. You don't have to be a tourney guy. The time spent on the water, it's therapeutic. It's good for physical fitness. It's good for mental fitness. It's good for spiritual fitness. I mean, you name it, it's good for everything. And the more time you spend outside, the more you appreciate it, the more you'll want to protect the outside. You'll want to take care of the community that's around you. You want to take care of the nature that's around you. It just grows. I mean, it just grows and grows. And I've been very blessed to be a part of it for 50 years now.
That's awesome. How about you, Michael?
I've actually been able to donate fishing trips to local organizations. I thought to myself, well, I'll probably be fishing that day anyway. So what if I donate a trip or two to some people that could auction it off? So I've given myself 3 trips a year to give to certain organizations. One, actually, and what's funny is every event where these were given away happened in the same weekend, about 3 weeks ago. I donated a trip to a fishing flea market in West Rutland, Vermont, that is there to get kids fishing whose families cannot necessarily afford to take their kids fishing. And so it was a door prize, 2 people, kayak fishing trip, half day. I donated one to the Elk Foundation local chapter of Lebanon, New Hampshire. It went for a live auction. The big one that meant a lot to me this year, my wife is a combat veteran. She served a number of tours in Afghanistan, West Point grad 07, decided that she wanted to go to business school, and there are a few scholarship opportunities in that field. One of which is an organization called the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation. Glenn Doherty was one of the Navy SEALs that was killed in the Benghazi attack years ago, and his sister started, and their friends in Winchester, Massachusetts, started this Memorial Foundation as a kind of a transition fund for people transitioning out of the military into the world of business, so they don't have to go work military contracting. It's something else to further their education. So she was one of the recipients of that scholarship back in 2019, and this past year, just last month, it was their 100th scholarship recipient 10-year anniversary of the program. So I donated a fishing trip for 2. I filmed myself fishing and talking about the donation, and the auction there was a number of items set around tables at a bar restaurant in Boston, and I'll tell you guys, I charged $450 to take 2 people kayak fishing for 4 hours. That's what pays for my gear. Being on the Jackson team, the kayaks don't cost as much as they used to, but that's my price. This trip went for $1,300.
Wow.
And that goes into that scholarship fund to help other people transitioning from the military into other careers. And it was just so cool to be there, have her tell her story, shake hands with people who, and this scholarship changed our lives, changed her course of life. And I love just giving that back. And it's a simple day of taking a couple people fishing, whether they book a trip with me or not. I got to donate that experience to that foundation that could auction it off, that needed that money to further their organization. And so that's one of the things I've been fortunate enough to do, and glad that I can still be able to afford to do it.
Very cool.
That's really amazing.
Now,
and my wife is my number one sponsor.
It's funny, Mike. Once I do donate quite a bit of stuff and for charity auction and whatnot. And once it was before my kayak life, I brought someone fishing on the St. Lawrence River, and it was again an auction, so everything was paid. And it's funny because I really feel the passion from you guys when you talk. And I started the day quickly with him, bringing him fishing, and I actually put a hook right in my thumb. And I'm like, you know what? No, that guy paid to come here, and it was like for a great event and whatnot, great charity. I'm like, I'm getting that hook out. He's like, no, it's fine. We can leave. I said, Betty, you wanted to come fishing? That hook is coming out. I'm like, ripped it out. Okay, we're good. For day fishing. So it's funny how passion. That's what I like about all of you guys. And yeah. And June,
so this was before you got into a Jackson kayak, because I have a theory. My first day out this year on the river near my house, I had to help a guy get a hook out of his arm. He was paddling a different brand of kayak. And then just the other day, I saw a guy who was having a really tough time fishing, and I cast right next to him, and I pull in a really nice fish, and he's in another brand kayak. I just feel like Jackson Kayak just helps you catch the fish.
You get that playa color, they'll run right at Paula. They'll run right into the side of it. True story.
I don't know. My forest worked pretty good this morning. You got to admit that. You've seen the picture.
Works. I have seen the picture. They're beautiful fish.
So, Chad, what's next on the colors? Because I would love to talk colors for a minute, because you just make that playa color look so good, and with the new Yak Attack tan accessories. If I lived in Florida or Alabama, if I had a beach nearby, like I feel like the playa color with that tan Yak Attack accessories, that's what I would rock.
It has been very difficult since the tan color has come out to not spend over $1,000 on the Yak Attack website and not just use everything that is in perfect condition that I already have. It's been real tough. Yep. And I've seen it in stores. I've held it in stores, and I've just it's been tough. As far as colors go for 2024, I'm not at liberty to discuss that on open air.
I tell you, I don't know if
we know the blackout is very big.
Do you remember the urban camo? Urban camo.
I had a big rig in urban camo. I had an OG big rig in urban camo, and my other big tuna was urban camo. I loved it. I kept losing it.
Urban and marsh. Marsh was a really cool color. I like that one. It was kind of like desert, but it had a lot of slate to it. Yeah, and a little bluish slate. That was a really cool. Those were a couple of my favorites of all. Of course, I've always been a camo fan, and part of that is as being a photographer. You know, it just helps to have something that I always have to keep something that blends in, because there are times that I will be sitting out there with a camera, not a fishing rod, and sometimes my quarry is not always another person with a fishing rod in her hand. You know, I do like to sneak up on stuff, so I try to keep something camo handy. But yeah, I got to admit, when our choice for the other X came in, Angie, she had me on that playa. She's like, you don't have a choice on this one.
And all the colors this year are really pretty good. I was a big fan of Aurora.
Oh yeah,
I really liked that color.
Arctic was awesome.
Arctic was good. I have a superstitious belief about blue, and I believe that I catch my bigger fish in a blue boat. There was a red big rig that I cussed that boat from the day. There's nothing wrong with the boat. There's nothing wrong with the boat. It is not the boat at all. It was red, and I did not color request my color that year. And I should have got Battleship, but I did not. And I got a red big rig, and that was the only boat I was happy to see go down the road. I believed it to be bad luck from the beginning.
I remember my zombie mayfly
coolers.
Your zombie mayfly, yeah.
The zombie mayfly, and that one, that lime yellow black. I love that. I would love to see that one make a run. I'd be very happy to see that one. Since we don't do customs anymore.
Yeah.
That and my Storm Liska, that just solid black and slate. That was a really cool mix.
That was a very cool boat.
As long as the Orion coolers keep matching, you know, I just ordered. So my X is the dusk color, and so I ordered the red Orion cooler, and I don't know. I like making, since I have all the fishing gear, I like making my clients carry the food, whatever else. And so I've got a forest cooler that goes in my NAR that my clients pedal. And then I just ordered the red Orion to match the Dusk X. As
long as you remember to tell them, when we were in Panama over there shooting that for the FDs, the Coosas, we were out, and I ended up getting cramped up because they gave me a bottle of water, you know, and I was sipping on that water the whole day. Well, this is very hot in the Pacific, and I'm sipping, metering this water out. Well, my hands would cramp from paddling, and my legs would cramp from pedaling. I was so dehydrated by the time we got back to shore, because I was trying to make sure that water lasted the whole day. Well, we get back to shore, and I look over, and everybody's got like all these full bottles of water. I'm like, what the heck? How did y'all make it all day long? Like, oh, we got them from him, the guide. And Adam's over there, he's got a whole boat full of water, and nobody told me that Adam. And I was, so I'm like, great. I'm out here. I literally had to, because I pedaled until my legs wouldn't move, and then I paddled until my arms wouldn't move, and then I pedaled till my legs wouldn't move. Wow. And I was so cramped up. I was like a dried up lizard out there on that boat, and they're over there drinking up a storm. I was like, y'all just wanted to kill me out in that water.
That was one of the things on the Orion podcast. A couple podcasts ago, we had Jake Arvold from First Form supplements on, and he was really talking about the hydration. That's kind of one of the things we elaborated on, was making sure that you stay hydrated out on the water. Because number one, you got the sun. Number two, you got the wind, and number two, it's physical. Yes, or sir. Number three, I can't count.
It could have been
as that Alabama counting, wasn't it, Chris?
1-2-C. That's what
1-2-C. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think that's important. So, when you guys are taking other folks out and working with them, I mean, it probably is important, to make sure you've got the supplies for them on the water.
Well, I put a life straw in my yak attack, my black pack, and it's just because, dude, if you're out there, I've had times when I forgot to throw a water in the boat, and I'm telling you, Chattahoochee water through a life straw tastes just like Dasani. So you can say what you want to, but if it keeps you from getting cramped up, and I mean, I'm telling you, I drank the Tallapoosa River just to try it out, and sure enough, it works. So the life straw for, I don't know, I think they're $14 or $15. That's probably not a bad thing for somebody to add to your kit. because it don't take up any room. You put it in your pack or your tackle box or your seat bag. But that's something good to have just in case.
You mind sharing that, Chris, whether it's on the podcast or your page later on? I have a really short memory, so
10-4, I'll do it. I'll put it on the team. I think I actually did a little video on it just to show, but because I've got a Survivor Pro filter that when we're camping, I carry it, just to pump out water. So if you want to make your own water, but that Life Straw, they're a pretty neat thing. I know they do a lot of like third world country stuff, trying to make sure folks that can actually have good drinking water. So it's just a pin. It's a little bitty tiny thing. It's big as your thumb, but it'll filter out 99.59 of all the bad stuff. So, and I figure if I do get something bad, hey, it's just a good way to lose weight anyway.
Now this kind of leads me in another direction. Talking about different things. The three of you know, earlier this spring, I had a buddy flip in some really cold water. Was underprepared big time, and it was.
And you guys handled that very well. But
I don't know how I stayed as calm as I did, but I did. And you were in my head, by the way, because I've pretty much watched all your videos, and I did not have a rope with me. I did not have the rope, and the power pole obviously got wedged in some rocks, and I could not. The boat was too far out from the shore. Couldn't get it to the shore. He couldn't get it to the shore. It was a hot mess, and I did not have a way to grab hold of the boat in my NAR and pull it back. And it was an awkward situation. It was easy to get it back over. It was just an awkward situation, and I did not have a rope. You were in my head.
Well, having that strap, and I know, it's been a long time since we did that video, but if you do paddle with somebody else, that Angie and I and Ethan did a rescue strap video showing how to use it and go across another person's boat to make a stirrup to get up in. And man, we've used that with folks with, like I said, limited mental capacity, limited physical capacity, some larger folks, some little folks that had a hard time getting back up in boats. And that right there, just having that strap to where you can get somebody back up into a boat if they're too cold. I mean, Lord knows hypothermic muscles are not going to move like you think they should move. No. And that's when I try to talk to people about PFDs, I know everybody wants these PFDs with these giant pockets. Well, back, many pounds ago when I was 280, I learned that if you got a lot of pockets on the front of a big belly, that makes it even more difficult to get into a kayak. So I started trimming down, what I put in my pockets and making sure that the PFDs that I had didn't have them just gigantic, cargo pouches on the front of it. But, those two things, having the strap handy for rescues, or like you said, for towing, man, that just, you could have hooked up. And we learned that lesson years ago when too much wind and helping folks to pedal or paddle across an open bay when they needed to be, towed. You're not going to do it with them side by side. They're going to have to be behind you and in your slipstream as you're pulling them along.
There was a story that came out of, I believe it was the tournament on Gunnersville. There was a video when the weather turned. There was a guy in another brand kayak that flipped and got washed into Low Bridge and had to be rescued. I catch a lot of grief on social media and some of my photos with the Astral Rescue PFD that I wear. I come from a whitewater background. On the Green River Narrows and other creeks, you paddle as if you're going to effect a rescue. And Astral has the green jacket that has a tether on it. It is meant to effect a rescue. And I wear that when I'm taking trips because you never know when you're going to need that tether. And I sometimes will have if I have an experienced person, I have an old Astral PFD, my original from years ago. I'll make that person wear that. If they have any swift water experience, any military training, whatever, I'm going to say, you have this rescue PFD. It has a tether on it. If for any reason you're going to be, my second in command. but it's what you're saying. If you have that tether, that ability, and that Jackson stand assist strap that still comes with every boat. You know, I have an old ram ball that I connect to a guest boat. It has that stand assist strap. It's my very high-tech way to connect them to me. If they're tired, I turn on the trolling motor. I strap them to me. We're going home. And it's what you're saying. It's right there on the side of the boat. And if you need that to get back in the boat, you know, it's exactly what you're saying. And right now, I was out yesterday. It was very windy. It was 73 degrees. It was sunny. The water was 59 degrees. We're in the middle of May. And it's crazy. We're going to be in hypothermic swimming temperatures till we get to July 4th up here. Chris,
ours was 78 yesterday.
And Alabama's just now warming up because it was only 68 when I was there 2 weeks ago. Now,
if you're paddling on the Ottawa right now, I mean, what's that water temp where you are right now, Chris?
Oh, it should be around in the 50s. Or so.
Yeah.
But and the funny thing, and it's so important that all these tips you guys are sharing, especially you have so much experience. When I flipped the first time in my smaller kayak, so I'm coming from the bass boat world and got all my Gore-Tex suit, and I only have my Mustang auto inflatable thing.
Right.
Water was maybe, I don't know, 80 degrees or so. It's not even cold. And I just lean over, I lose my glasses and try to catch him. So I had like only a smaller paddling kayak, not a fishing kayak. So I try to grab him and I actually fell in the water. Now, people cannot realize how critical we have it doesn't matter what fishing rod, reels, and lures, the safety equipment is so key. When I fell in the water, and we all know Gore-Tex, water doesn't go through that. So when I fell, it went full of water, and I went down the water. And my PDF, it opened, and I was still panicking because you got your boat upside down. You're thinking about your gear. You're thinking about. So even though I'm not afraid of water, I also panic. So it's not something people can say, oh, well, how often I hear people, oh, I go kayaking, no PFD, I know how to swim. Don't say it. It's not a reflex that you practice.
You become disoriented.
Exactly. And then
I ain't afraid of water. I'm afraid of.
And I told myself, I said, what if that PDF did not inflate that day? There's no way I can remove all that suit underwater 20 feet down while I'm all panicking because my auto inflatable didn't go on. So I'm like, okay, so I got to make sure I have the right PDF. If I want to go auto inflatable, make sure I have, like, I don't know. It depends on the body of water. If I'm going in 100 feet of water, for sure I'm not going to put that because I can't risk, because I actually had one that I tested in my pool once and only one side open. So there's no guarantee. Foam, it floats. Auto inflatable, it's like, well, just hope that it works when you need it.
And now we need an extra set of safeguards after the video that has circulated the internet the past couple days. The guy kayak fishing and the shark coming up to bite his boat.
Chad doesn't go to the ocean.
No. Oh my God. I'm going
to go to the swamp with me one day, Chad. Yeah. You're going to go to the swamp with me.
I'm going to go to the swamp. I'm going to go to the swamp. I'm going to go to the swamp.
Okay, but there's gators in the swamp too.
Yes.
So
yes, there is.
So I'm going striper fishing in Boston Harbor, the mouth of the Merrimack River, on Friday. My boats have never seen salt water. Like, I don't even know there's a rod I want to use. I know there's a reel I have. I don't know if I want to subject one of my rods to salt water, but it adds that element. Like, I've always been a whitewater river kayaker. I like point A and point B. A lake sometimes, but 700-acre lake is kind of my jam. That's as big as I can go on a half-day trip, get people back without being exhausted.
Right after the HDs came out, we were in the Everglades with Jim Salmons, and Jim was shooting his show down there, and the weather turned awful. I mean, like it was 32 degrees down in the Everglades. It was just unbelievably cold. So we ended up chasing sharks just to try to help to make a show. But I was standing in the HD throwing a cast net for mullet with sharks swimming around the boat.
That Mark IV would have gone 100 miles per hour if I would have been there.
Yeah, there's a video of me standing. I hooked one, and that thing's running circles around that boat. That boat's turning like a whirlwind with the shark running circles around me.
You are me, guys. I work at a computer all day, so for me, fishing with like these big fish around me, nope, bass is good enough.
Yep, I'm with you, Christian. I'm with you. So kind of to close out the little segment about safety gear, aside from your PFD. PDF, that's the other job. What would you say is a must-have in your boat? Let each of you give one, hopefully a different answer each.
For me, it's going to be a dry bag. I see a lot of people talk about cases on their phones, but to me, I want a dry bag because I put my phone, I put wallet, I put keys, cameras. I put shooting iron, camera, everything that's necessary goes in that bag because for two reasons: one, it protects it, and two, it floats. So it's not gonna leave me, and I may lose everything I've got in that boat, but I'm gonna be able to get to safety and get back home with what's in that bag.
Very good. About you, Michael?
I said this in my ice fishing talk, earlier this winter. It is not just your cell phone, but it's your cell phone in a pocket that you can reach when you are flipped over, stuck, whether it's in an ice hole while ice fishing. iPhone 14s, I believe, or 12s and beyond are waterproof up to like 30
water resistant.
Yeah. And now there's an emergency feature when I don't have my emergency radio, but my phone, along with my fish clips, my hemostat and everything in the front pocket of that PFD, my phone is right there. And I use my Rogue phone connector so it doesn't fall in the water. And then in my trip talk, I tell people my phone is in here. Mm-hmm. It is unlocked. You don't need my face to unlock it. If anything happens to me, look for Sarah, call her first after you call 911. And so it's, there were just a group of like 6 or 8 teenage hikers that were rescued in Southern California because why wouldn't you go hiking in shorts and a t-shirt in Southern California? But the SOS feature on iPhones now, it's you don't need a signal to call for 911 and rescue. And it does add an extra element of safety. I wouldn't rely on your cell phone. It's like Chris was saying, dry bag, put it in there, but it needs to be within reach.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say an item because I'm the first culprit of not doing it. Is flipping with your kayak and trying to get back on during the summer. Practice it. Like for me, if I flip, honestly, I don't even know how I'm going to be able to put it back up and get back on. I've watched all those videos and whatnot, but watching a video and real life event are two things. So this summer, as soon as the water is hot enough, I'm flipping the Kayak, I'm flipping the NAR without the equipment and then see how the heck do we get back on those things?
Well, that's it. The NAR and the Take Two, both of those being larger boats. Jeff Little and I had that discussion that the bigger boats got, the more difficult it was. If you actually turn the boat over, how would you get it back? And having the strap, where I actually had to climb on top of the Take Two with the strap, stand on the boat and lean back to get it to actually flip over. And that was eye-opening because I tried multiple times to flip that boat over with the way that I normally do, and it just kind of seal launching up on it, going back in the water, flipping it back over. Usually that's no trouble. Dude, I'm telling you, the Take Two would not come. It is that big of a boat. But I mean, it took I had to stand on the side of it with both feet to get it to flip. But if you ever did flip one over, and you did flip a NAR over, probably having that strap through the handle where you can stand up and lean back. And I've got a video, and it's funny because while I was shooting the video, Jeff Little called me, and it's like, hey, dude, I'm shooting what we talked about, but he did as well. And of course, he does such a wonderful job on his tutorials and walkthroughs.
He plumb stood on the Coosa X.
Yes, sir.
Turn it back over.
Yeah.
Yep. And because it's not an easy thing to do. It's not as easy as you think it is. The HD was nothing to get back over. Now we're into that realm of a boat that's like, I don't think so.
Well, in a boat like the Nar, it has the high gunnel walls, and I think it's going to drag a lot of water. And plus, they're loaded down with heavy drive that's also going to drag water, and gear and crates. It's going to drag water as you try to drag it back over. So, I think the strap is a must have.
You just need to go. If you went to a summer camp as a kid and you got to sail in a sunfish and got bored and flipped it over and trained to flip those things back over, you're going to be able to do it to a kayak. Very quick, funny story in terms of gear to bring with you. Batteries. Bring extra batteries, not big batteries. I'm talking the correct size batteries, AA's or AAA's, for any remotes to any trolling motors you have. Just yesterday, I got in the water, pushed off from the dock, and I had my rudder point me in the right direction, very windy, and I got my remote out, and it wasn't on. I was like, oh, weird. So I quickly turned it on. I clicked deploy, start, speed number 2 out of 10, so pretty slow. The motor was pointing directly 90 degrees, and then it died. The remote died. So all of a sudden, my boat starts doing this, right? And the wind is pushing me back toward the boat launch. Nobody's there, thank God. My camera is off. But I'm like, oh, this is going to suck. So I crawl my 200-pound butt over the pedals and get to the trolling motor to turn it off. I have to back pedal. Thankfully, I had everything rigged, the backups, to pedal that NAR. And then I'm like, oh, I got batteries in the truck. I go to open up the remote, put the AA batteries in. Nope, AAA batteries.
Oh, no.
I had to drive down the road 5 minutes, get AAA batteries. The ladies didn't even know if they carried batteries at that store. Man, I mean, if it would have been the height of summer and if that camera was going, I would have posted just one of the most wonderful videos of my learning lessons of the day. I wish somebody was there to see me, because that stuff doesn't happen very often. So,
well, since we already mentioned the rope, I'm going to throw out a fire starting kit, a packaged fire starting kit. That comes with the little packaged balls of fluff and one of the deals that you can press and it sparks and kind of has the internal flint to it. That could probably save your life, especially if it's cold and you're a couple miles away from the truck and you just need to get warm and you need to get dry fast. That could be a pivotal item.
The other thing is, before you ever leave, honestly, I tell my bride where I'm going every time I leave, and she knows. And if I change, like today I was going to one landing. Had I changed and gone to another landing, I would have texted her and said, I'm left this one, I'm heading to that one. And the thing is, if I don't show up, she has a starting point. And that way they're not saying, well, gee, where did Chris go? I mean, the Chattahoochee's a long river, 500 something miles. She's got a starting point to send help. And that's the thing.
Yep. Mine asks me every time I walk out the door, where are you going? Who are you going with? When will you be back?
And if you change that plan, let her know. Yep.
I need to be better about that. And I need to be probably better about being here when I say I'm going to.
And when you'll be back,
and you need to introduce her to the people you go fishing with, because whenever I'm going, she says, send me the contact information of the person you're with. And then it's like, well, if I'm not comfortable enough to send that information to my wife, maybe I shouldn't go fishing with that person. But that's
a different story. That's a different podcast.
Listen, I probably fish 99% of the time alone. And that's, I know I'm just that kind of guy. I love folks, but I love my solitude. I'm not antisocial. I'm pro solitude. So it's when I'm fishing, it takes a lot for me to take somebody with me. And so I've got a handful of folks that I'll fish with, regularly. But I mean, for the most part, I'm going to be alone. And it's just because That's who I am. Now, when we're together, I love it. But if I'm going alone, you better believe she knows where I'm at and what I'm doing.
So I shouldn't be offended that you haven't asked me to come fish with you yet.
No, sir. Trust me. Trust me.
I asked Chris Gervais to come down here and come ice fishing, and
now I want to do that. Believe it or not, I am. Like I said, I'm from
right.
Alabama, but I definitely would like to come fish through the ice one day.
Open invitation.
I know it's cold. That's and I'd probably be look like a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, all bundled up. I wouldn't be able to reel a rod. I'd be so wrapped up.
You don't need to reel a rod. You don't. I mean, there's so little movement. You need to except for the running to the tip up. You'll be fine.
I get it done.
Well, I'm probably gonna fly down south and meet some of you guys during winter.
Oh, we would.
The winter is the absolute best time to go to the Okefenokee Swamp, and I'm telling you, crocodiles
are docile.
Chris, that's what you do. Chris, you drive down through New Hampshire, pick me up. We will go down south.
Go to the swamp.
It's a plan.
Once them gators cool down, they don't eat anything. Literally, you could pass, and it's funny because I went with a Californian and a Canadian.
Wood. He says it. It's
I ain't been bet yet, so I've been around a lot of them. Don't give them a good reason to.
And there's Rudy Yarworth brings up a good point. There's less bugs.
Oh, very, very much so. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Point. You don't trust me. It ain't the gators you're worried about. It's the flies. If y'all don't have yellow flies, be thankful because the yellow fly will make you invent cuss words.
You don't need none of that. I don't need any help. But no, that's some good stuff tonight, guys. We have made it an hour. So I am going to let you guys kind of start signing off here, and we'll start with Christian. Just kind of thank the people that you need to thank and tell people where to find out more about you on the social media world.
So I'd like to thank, and maybe for another podcast, Spro.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at this frog, I have a story about how I put that one full hook one side in my son's head. Remember that for another fishing story. Now that one about. So Spro USA, which I've been for many, many years, Zig Zone Lures, The Rod Love, Jackson Kayak, Mons Loisir, all companies that I love to represent. People can find me in Chris Gervais Fishing on Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to work on my YouTube channel this summer a bit more. Chris and Mike have lots of great YouTube videos. And next time I'll make sure I put Christian. So if there's Chris and Christian, it'll be easier to distinguish. But yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and that's about it.
Mr. Funk.
Well, brother, you know me. I've kept it kind of close to the vest. So for Jackson Kayak, Yak Attack, Bended Branches, and Orion are the only girls that I bring to the dance, and I try to take care of them best I can. But probably more than anybody, I need to thank my bride for tolerating me and letting me do what I get to do, and thank the good Lord for making all this stuff we get to play with, because I certainly enjoy spending time in His creation. So that's all I got. I appreciate you and all you do.
Mr. Blatt.
I think I have it written right there. Instagram is at TBC Guides. I really just started the Instagram presence, I'd say a year ago.
Yeah,
and I am pushing 1,000 followers, which is really fun. I had one of my ice fishing videos hit 1 million views.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. I've never really felt like that before. With social media, but it was pretty cool to have 1 million people. Had to delete a lot of comments, just some sensitive stuff, but it's social media. And tbcguides.fish is my website. Jackson Kayaks, obviously one of, who I represent at the biggest level. But Outdoor New England in Franklin, New Hampshire, my retail partner, couldn't really do any of this without them. My main sponsor, my wife, Sarah, as well as my new tackle and fishing sponsor, Kayak. Makes amazing lures, great hard tackle, and my absolute favorite lipless crankbait that reminds me of a 1992 rattle trap that outperforms rattle trap. Sorry, rattle trap. But yeah, that's who I got. That's where I am. And
you got a JK Fun Tour coming up that you're kind of leading the way. So I'll let you go ahead and plug that real quick.
So my favorite lake to fish up here is Lake Maury. It's in Vermont, about 700 acres. We are in the end of May, and the bass are not even on the beds. We are not even in spawn yet. It's amazing. The water's 59.2 degrees. Lake Maury Resort sits right there, and they have put a couple of my events on their calendar. They keep a stack of my business cards at their front desk. And they are going to be hosting myself as well as Outdoor New England for a last-minute Jackson Fun Tour stop. We did a whitewater Jackson Fun Tour stop with Outdoor New England a couple weeks ago, and now we're going to be doing the fishing side. And would really love any other fishermen who want to come fish barely post-spawn in a New England lake. It gets to 40 feet deep in some parts of the lake, but usually about 20 feet is all you need to cast. And it should be a good time. All the summer camps on that lake, 3 summer camps, it's parents visit weekend. So they all pull their kids out of camp that weekend. They go stay at the hotel, and I'm going to be taking out 3 mini clinics of fishing. Very excited about it. So yeah, there should also name Lake Maury Resort as well.
Yeah. I just want to add something quickly before I forget. Yeah. I started kayak fishing because of the group Kayak Bass Canada, which is an online fun tournament group, people across Canada. It's a fun group. It's a nice place to learn how to kayak fish. So shoot out to Kayak Bass Canada. And also in July, we're having a CHIO charity event, which is for the Children's Hospital in Eastern Ontario, which is a lifesaver for many, many kids. My kids have been there young that saved their lives as well. So it's an event where all the registration fees are all going to CHIO.
Nice.
So shoot out to Kayak Bass Canada, and anyone watching this interested in learning how to kayak fish and whatnot, join the group, and we're always glad to help out.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Good stuff tonight. Good stuff tonight, guys.
Rudy just asked what the dates were. Rudy, I just sent you the invite to the event. So,
yep. And for those of you watching, I got rid of the photo. Nope, there it is. 7/15. So July 15th.
July 15th. Yeah. In Fairleigh, Vermont. Central Vermont.
Check out the event page at Jackson Kayak's Instagram.
And my daughter's not here. I think my wife's traveling. I've got room in the house. I have 2 couches. You guys don't need a hotel. So first 3 people to hit me up, they want to stay Saturday night, the 15th of July, you've got a place to stay.
There you guys go. With that being said, we obviously want to thank Jackson Kayak. Check us out, jacksonkayak.com. Orion Coolers, as you can see scrolling across the bottom if you're watching this thing on the YouTube or listening to us live. 5% off right now. Orion Rocks is your code at checkout to save 5% on all Orion Coolers and Orion accessories on jacksonkayak.com. Obviously, got to thank Z-Pro Lithium, Cast King, Basco Fishing for all their support of the Orion podcast and different things that we do here. So with that being said, we will see you guys on a Wednesday, not a Thursday, in 2 weeks. And you can catch us online at Spotify. Listen to all the Orion podcasts, all the Jackson Doc Talk episodes right there. Just Google us, Orion Podcast. We'll pop up. We're pretty popular. Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.